Randy Travis fans, this is going to surprise you. Most people don't know how close Randy Travis came to prison and also how many times Nashville told him no because he was too country. Hi, I'm Frank Gerard, and today I'm talking with author of one of the most detailed Randy Travis books ever written, Diane Diekman. Diane, thank you for doing this. Before we get into the book, I want to ask you the obvious question. Why Randy Travis? What made you say, this is the story I want to spend years of my life researching?
After I published the biographies of Farron Young and Marty Robbins, I decided I would like to write about a person who was still alive. And I had to think about who did I like well enough that I wanted to write about them, that I'd never get tired of talking about them, never get tired of listening to their music, and that they had enough following that they would sell some books. And they hadn't already had a biography written. The two people I came up with were Merle Haggard and Randy Travis. And the Merle Haggard one didn't work out. The Randy Travis one did. And I started pursuing that, and I got the contract and got connected with Randy and Mary and uh, wrote the book.
Yeah, it's a fascinating read, Diane. And one of the most fascinating parts to me is how many times, and this shocked me, and it would shock a lot of people, I think, is how many times the industry basically rejected Randy for being too country, as they said back then. I mean, in plain English, what did that mean in the early 1980s?
The steel guitar, the fiddles, the overall sound, it because it was more of a orchestral, Kenny Rogers, Olivia Newton-John, the what they called the Nashville sound, which had a lot more strings and didn't have the traditional country sounds. And Randy wanted to keep it traditional country. Also, the songs he recorded and his style of singing, it was traditional country.
Yeah. And what did Randy do that most artists wouldn't have the guts to do back then? I
Well,
mean, that make go ahead.
it kept plugging away. They kept trying, and finally they got connected with the right people because there were other people also who liked the traditional country music. And when someone suggested to Martha Sharp that she go listen to him, and she did, and she signed him to Warner Brothers Records. And then also Kyle Lanning liked that style of music, and he became his producer. So they they were the team, and it it clicked. They put out good enough music that it became popular.
Yeah, it sure did. I remember I was a very, very young man when Storms of Life came out, and I heard it first on the radio, and I remember thinking, oh, that's got to be an older, old-time country singer. And then to find out it was just a young kid at the time was just
Yep.
amazing, which made him so unique. Let's talk about Lib Hatcher, because she's one of the most misunderstood figures in country music history, in my opinion. What do you think people still get wrong about her?
They get wrong how dedicated she was, and how she was a behind the scenes person. She didn't like to be out front. She liked to make things happen. She was driven. When she decided she wanted to do something, she just worked at it until she succeeded. I mean, she had an amazing amount of energy. When I read about some of the things that she accomplished, she just kept charging, and she had faith in Randy when nobody else did, including Randy. She was determined that he could be a star, and the two of them worked together and put a lot of effort into building his career. and they were a real team, and they got it built until he became the the biggest selling traveling artist, country artist in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she really was. She was a powerhouse, and I guess still is. I guess she's still around. I'm not with
She
Randy, but
is.
yeah. What is, Denz? What is one thing that you learned while writing this book that even hardcore Randy Travis fans will probably not know, without giving away the whole book, of course?
Well, there there were I mean, I've learned a lot. Nobody knows everything. It always surprises me when somebody reads one of my biographies and they say, "Well, I learned things I didn't know." Well, I certainly hope you did, because I
Yeah.
learned things I didn't know to to write about.
Yeah,
And
there's so much. And there's so many nuggets in this book. By the way, full disclosure for those who don't know, I was fortunate enough that Diane chose me to be the narrator of this book, and I've always been a big Randy Travis fan. And I read, some of the old stuff about Randy Travis, another book. I thought I knew everything. I learned so much from your book, Diane. And one of the things I learned, I knew about this, but I learned more about it, is how important gospel music was in Randy's life. I mean, Randy's gospel music is not just a side project. I mean, it's core to who he is. In your view, how important is or was faith to understanding the full Randy Travis story?
that was what I was going to bring up next. He
Yeah.
ended up in a quandary because he was this he had all these hits. He was this huge selling country artist, and but then when he no longer had a record label and he was kind of on the downhill slide, that not having all the hits that he had been, he and Kyle Lenning started recording gospel music, and then he set up kind of like a second career where he and his rhythm guitarist would go around and play in churches and small venues like that, and they would sing gospel music and they would talk about their faith. And at the same time, he had a schedule of playing in casinos, and it really put him in a quandary. He said, "How can I play in a casino and sing all these drinking songs in front of all these people that are drinking and gambling, and then the next day go to a church and sit up there and sing gospel songs and talk about my faith?" He said, "Is there something not right, something kind of fake about that?" And his pastor friends told him, "No, keep doing what you're doing." He said, the people who hear your casino shows may end up in a church. That people who have never darkened our doors before might come to a church based on something that you had said and the songs you had sung." So that kind of settled him down, then, that he could continue doing both types of music, both types of concerts. And he, in the early 2000s, he put out about a half dozen albums that were mostly gospel. They were country gospel, and with a great sense of humor. He found that he liked writing gospel songs, so he wrote a lot of songs for those albums, but some of them had humorous titles like "Pray for the Fish," which is a song about somebody who goes into the water to get baptized, and then they say, "Well, when all his sins gets washed away, you have to pray for the fish, because what's going to happen to all these sins?" Well, so
I love that.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, something we never think about, praying for the fish, but no, it's fun. Last question, and I want to ask you this because you and I have known each other for quite a while, and you are a pro. You've written about Farron Young, you've written about Marty Robbins, you've written, and you've got other great things coming up. you're unflappable. You've always been just the facts. You stick to the truth, and but you're human, and you're a Randy Travis fan. So I have to ask you, what was the hardest part of Randy's story for you to write?
Explaining the times that he made national news for being drunk and ending
Yeah,
up naked on the side of the road. But when I researched those, I got the court records, I got the police reports, and I told the story, and I put a lot of effort into telling a balanced story and explaining why he was in the situation where these things might have happened and what were some of the mitigating circumstances, and throughout it I included that he still maintained his sense of humor, and a large part of it were the it was the trauma from his youth growing up with an abusive father. And like you mentioned at the beginning, he was on his way to prison. And you also ask about Lib Hatcher.
yeah,
And when he went to live with her, when he was just turning 18, she kept him on the straight and narrow for 34 years. And
right.
so those tendencies, the alcoholism that ran in his family, was under tight control. And
Yeah.
then when those two split up in 2010, and other problems were happening, then Randy just kind of reverted back to his teenage years, and that helped explain what went on during that period.
It did. And Diane, I have to compliment you. You do such a good job of explaining this tough situation because before I read your book, I thought I had this preconceived notion. I thought, Diane could put all the facts in there. There's no way she's going to make me understand or feel a sense of empathy for why Randy went through some of these crazy things that he did. My gosh, he was found naked, blah, 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 blah. You do it, you explain it. And by the time I finished the book, I felt for him. I thought, just like you said, there are reasons all these things happen. It wasn't like he just woke up one morning and said, I'm going to get drunk and naked or whatever. You explain it and you have all the court records to go along with it. So you back up the facts, and you just do a superb job of it. So I want to compliment you on that. It's really good. It's really good. I was hanging, as an audiobook narrator, we do not have to like or love the books that we read, but I loved this one. I was hanging on the edge of my seat. So thank you, Diane. Thank you again, Randy Travis fans. The book is Randy Travis, Storms of Life. It is now out there in hard copy and audiobook and Kindle, Diane, also.
Yes.
Kindle, okay. If you want the full story, it's available in print, Kindle, and audiobook, of course, on Amazon.com. Diane, thanks so much. We'll talk again.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thanks.